That's awesome to hear. Your experience day one with your family. Did they come to pick you up, or did you get an aeroplane ticket from the hotel onto them?
What happened was my host family was in Florida and orientation was in New Jersey. So I got a plane ticket from New Jersey to the nearest airport where they live. My host mother then and the daughter that I looked after were there to pick me up at the airport. They had a nice big sign for me welcoming. Unfortunately, the host father and the son weren't able to pick me up because they were at a basketball game. On the ride home, it was all, it was very weird for me because, okay, I've just climbed into a car with these people. How do I start interacting? But luckily, the little girl from day one has always been, a superstar. I miss her so much. Immediately she was like, "No, can you please sit in the back with me?" And it was a 45-minute drive from the airport, and she literally picked my brain about everything. So that went well. And then we pulled up they lived in a gated community. So, you go through the beans, and then it's another like 7-minute drive to their house. And I was just, flabbergasted, just looking around at everything. It was also stunning. And then we pulled up to this huge house, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm going to live here for the next year. And then, the father and the son came running out, and everyone took my bags and showed me up to my room. And because I got in late at night, we all went down and they bought pizza. I've never been too thrilled about the American pizza, but it was okay. So we all sat and had pizza together, and then I was allowed to go straight to bed because, of course, I was tired. So they were very welcoming, but it was also very awkward, like you just come into these people's house, how do you act, what do you do? And it was the funniest thing. We were eating pizza, and then I wanted a serviette because, my hands were a bit oily. So I said to them, where are the serviettes? Could I please have one? And they all looked at me like I was an alien from outer space because they thought I was talking about a serving tray. And they're like, oh, you mean a napkin? So for about the first 3 weeks that I was there, the children I looked after corrected me on everything. No, Miss Carmen, it's not a dustbin, it's a garbage can. And no, Miss Carmen, what's a robot? It's a traffic light. And anything they could think of, they could correct me on it. So, but overall, they were very welcoming. But it was, there was things you have to learn how to act around them, and that takes time.
Is it common that the children call the au pairs Miss Carmen?
Um, I'm not sure if it's common in most au pairs. From the girls that I've worked around, it's not. But that's always just one thing that my host mother has always done. Even from the first Skype interview that I had with this particular family, she introduced me as this is Miss Carmen. And even, around the dinner table because I always ate dinner with them. And so we would be talking with the kids, and when she would refer to me, she would refer to me as Miss Carmen. But obviously when she spoke to me, it was directly as Carmen. But she's also done that with all of her previous au pairs, because I was the third. So it's, it was Miss Adina and then Miss Carmen, and now their current au pair is Miss Toma. So I think it's basically just something that is done with my host mother.
Just changing subject slightly, Carmen. I think a lot of au pairs want to know, initially when they go overseas, it's all about, the excitement of the program, and of course the costs of the program. Just for the enlightenment of anybody listening, just to reconfirm in terms of costs, you had to pay for your program fee, you had to pay for your visa. Did you have to pay for any airline tickets? Like, for example, the flight from South Africa to the United States and then on to your family in Miami? Did you have to pay for anything?
No, I did not have to pay for any additional flight costs or anything like that. I paid a fee, and after that, everything was taken care of. My host mother actually paid extra to get me to America earlier because in the year that I went out, girls weren't allowed to go out before the 23rd of January, and my host mother needed me on the 9th. So she actually, on her end, she paid extra. But as far as any flights, as well as with coming back to South Africa, all you do is a month before your time, 3 months before you leave the US, they send you an email saying, when would you like your flights? And all you do is you tick your dates, and then a month later, they send you back your flight details. So you never have to pay for any flights unless obviously you're traveling for personal leisure.
Carmen, the day in the life of an au pair and the cost of living, were you able to obviously pay your way? Were you phoning home to mom all the time to send more money? Can you tell us a little bit about what did it cost you as an au pair, and were you able to live a decent life over there?
For me, when I first arrived, I was, thrilled with $200 because, that's 2,000 Rand a week. I was like, wow, I can go paint the town red now. And in the beginning, I did have a problem with spending my money too much and not saving enough. So I came back with 5 suitcases full of clothes. My mistake. But, there are lots of au pairs who you budget. Mainly what they tell you as well at orientation is they want you to save. So, put $50 away every week and then you have $150 to spend, which if you don't go blow your money on clothes like me, you have more than enough money. And in the beginning, I wasn't aware of how to contact my parents. Like, I know I could Skype with them, but my family in particular, they didn't have internet access all the time. And it wasn't until about 8 months down the line that I learned of this calling site that you can use. And I think it's actually very useful for girls from South Africa. It's called call27.com. And you go on there and you buy a certain amount of time, or you say, for example, you get $20 worth. And then that's over like 200 hours of phoning. So then you just type in your PIN codes on your actual cell phone that your host family will give you, and you can phone back to South Africa with no problem. You just have to be careful, however, not to phone on their phones without using a calling card because those costs go up dramatically. But as far as everyday living as an au pair, you don't have to pay for your own food or your accommodation. And if you are lucky enough to get a car, usually you don't have to pay for your own gas. So yes, you do have enough money. You just have to be wise about how you spend it. And I wasn't that wise in the beginning.
Carmen, tell me about the driver's license. That normally is a nightmare for young people before they, apply as an au pair. Did you have your license before you applied as an au pair?
Yes, I had my license. I went over when I was 18, so I just got my license that year. And before I left, I got my international license. And then after about 3 months of being in America, I got my Floridian driver's license. But you can actually get it as soon as you get there. I was just really nervous about going for the driving test. But in my personal opinion, especially in Florida, it is pathetically easy to get your license there. You don't even drive on the road. You're literally in a parking lot. All you have to do is reverse. You have to drive into a parking and reverse straight out and then do an emergency stop in a 3-point turn. You never drive on the actual road. You don't have to do parallel parking. So in my experience, it is so easy to get your license there. It's 10 times easier than doing it in South Africa.